Philadelphia is quiet tonight. Not the peaceful kind of quiet, but the kind that presses down on you. The kind that makes the streetlights feel too dim and the shadows feel too close. This is Germantown, a neighborhood of history, resilience, struggle, and tonight, a place where a life quietly slipped away. This is the story of a transgender woman who walked these streets hoping to make it home. She never did. Just after 10:40, she steps out of a corner store on Chelten Avenue. The door hisses closed behind her. A single streetlight flickers overhead, buzzing like it's about to give up. Cold air cuts across her face as she pulls her coat tighter around herself. She's holding a small, brown paper bag. Her phone rests in her palm. Nothing about her looks dramatic. Nothing about her looks dangerous. She looks tired. She looks human. She pauses for a second, not because she's afraid, but because people like her learn to read the night. The sidewalk stretches ahead, cracked and uneven. Storefronts are dark. Windows stare back like empty eyes. She starts walking. Each step echoes a little louder than it should. A man stands on his porch a block away, cigarette glowing orange in the dark. He sees her pass beneath a street lamp. For just 1 second, her face comes into focus, eyes heavy, makeup slightly smudged, expression guarded but calm. Then the light flickers, and she disappears into shadow. Her footsteps soften as she moves farther down the block. Tap, 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 then silence. The man hesitates. He feels something shift in the air, that unexplainable feeling that tells you you've just seen the last normal moment of someone's life. But he doesn't call out. He doesn't follow. And the night closes in behind her. The alley is narrow. Brick walls press in on both sides, damp with decades of neglect. Graffiti overlaps older graffiti, layers of forgotten names and erased voices. This is where the light stops reaching. Somewhere in this darkness, she realizes she's not alone. A figure steps into her path. We never see faces, only shapes, movement, tension. Her back meets cold brick. The space is tight. There's nowhere to run. The violence doesn't need to be shown. It's written into the posture, the sudden chaos, the way the alley absorbs sound. When it's over, the night goes still again. An earring lies in a puddle. The ground is disturbed. A phone screen is shattered. And the alley keeps its secret. Morning comes slowly. Grey light creeps across Germantown like a bruise. Behind an abandoned laundromat, a maintenance worker opens a gate. He stops cold. She's there, curled in on herself, behind 2 dumpsters, as if she tried to make herself smaller, as if hiding might still save her. Her coat is twisted, her body still. A streak of mascara cuts down her cheek, a tear frozen in time. The worker backs away, shaking. The city is waking up. She never will. Police arrive quietly. Blue lights flash against brick walls, painting the alley in cold pulses. Red, blue, red, blue. An officer kneels, but hesitates before touching her. This is not routine. A blanket is placed over her body, not because protocol demands it, but because humanity does. Nearby, an evidence marker sits beside her shattered phone. The screen reflects the flashing lights like broken stars. No one speaks much. There's nothing left to say. Word spreads fast. Residents step outside, eyes wide, voices low. An elderly woman grips her chest and whispers, "Not another one." Teenagers stand across the street, phones raised, recording, not for attention, but because this is how they've learned to remember. Police tape flutters in the breeze. The alley feels heavier now, like the whole block is carrying the weight of what happened. Her apartment is small, warm, lived in. A lamp glows softly beside a dresser covered in makeup, photos, and notes. A journal lies open on the bed. One line stands out. "I deserve to be here." Detectives stand silently in the doorway, hats off, heads lowered. This room tells a story the crime scene never could. A story of someone trying, someone building a life, someone who should still be here. In a dark room, detectives study grainy surveillance footage. A shadow crosses a frame, then another. Not enough clarity, not enough answers. On an evidence table, her phone is taken apart, piece by piece. Tiny shards of glass surround it. The technician works carefully, methodically, as if afraid to damage what little truth might still exist. But some answers never come back together. Candles line the sidewalk. Their flames tremble in the cold night air. Flowers, handwritten notes, photos of her smiling. A hooded figure steps forward and places a candle down, hands shaking. No speeches, no shouting, just quiet grief and the unspoken understanding that this should never have happened. Later, the alley is empty again. No police tape, no lights, no crowd, just cracked pavement and a flickering street lamp. The city moves on. But somewhere between those bricks, between that streetlight and that silence, a life was taken. And if we don't remember her, if we don't speak her story, then the night wins again. This isn't just one story. It's a warning, a truth, a demand to be seen. Because transgender lives matter, and silence is never neutral. 3 days after her body was discovered, the victim was formally identified. Her name was Arianna Wells, 29 years old, a transgender woman, a Germantown resident. Arianna had moved to Philadelphia 2 years earlier, hoping the city would offer what so many others promised but rarely delivered: safety, opportunity, and the freedom to exist without fear. Friends described her as soft-spoken, artistic, and deeply introspective. She loved R&B music, late-night walks, and journaling her thoughts when the world became too loud. Her family had struggled to accept her transition at first. Over time, some came around, others never did. Like many transgender women, Arianna built her own family. One made of friends, community members, and people who saw her for who she truly was. That chosen family was the first to arrive at the vigil, and the first to demand answers. In the days following the murder, detectives canvassed Germantown block by block. Tips came in slowly. Most were vague. Some were contradictory, but one detail stood out. Surveillance footage from a nearby auto repair shop captured a dark sedan circling the area twice that night. The driver never exited the vehicle, but the timing aligned closely with Arianna's last known movements. A partial license plate was recovered. That plate led investigators to Marcus Hale, age 34, a Germantown native with a history of violent behavior and prior arrests for assault. Witnesses later reported seeing a man matching Hale's description arguing with Arianna weeks earlier near a bus stop. His posture aggressive, his words sharp, his presence threatening. Detectives began to believe the meeting that night was not random. It was intentional. 10 days after the murder, police executed a warrant at a row house 6 blocks from the alley. Marcus Hale was taken into custody without incident. Inside his vehicle, investigators recovered fibers matching Arianna's coat and a cracked phone charger stained with blood. Not enough to tell the full story, but enough to begin connecting the dots. During questioning, Hale denied involvement. He claimed he didn't know her like that she was just someone he talked to. But his phone records told a different story. Multiple messages exchanged the night she died. Deleted texts, gaps in location data, silence where answers should have been. Hale was charged with first-degree murder. For the first time since Arianna's death, the city felt something unfamiliar. Hope. The trial lasted 6 weeks. Arianna's friends filled the courtroom, sitting shoulder to shoulder in quiet defiance. Some wore lavender, her favorite color. Others held photos they were never allowed to show the jury. The defense attempted to discredit Arianna's identity, to frame her life as risky, to suggest her death was inevitable. The prosecution pushed back hard. They showed the jury her journal entries, her text messages, her plans for the future. They reminded the court, being transgender is not a crime. Wanting to live is not consent to violence. In the end, the jury found Marcus Hale guilty of second-degree murder. He was sentenced to 40 years in state prison. It wasn't everything, but it was accountability. Justice came, but too late to save Arianna. Her name was added to a growing list of transgender women lost to violence. Another candle, another vigil, another family changed forever. A scholarship fund was created in her honor. A mural appeared on a Germantown wall, her face painted in soft purples and blues, eyes lifted toward the sky. Still, questions remain. Why was she alone that night? Why was the alley so dark? Why did it take days for answers to come? And how many more names will be added before silence finally breaks? Arianna Wells was not a statistic. She was not a headline. She was not a warning. She was a woman who wanted to live. And the only way to honor her is to make sure her story is never repeated. Before you go, I want to say thank you. Thank you for staying with this story. Thank you for listening. Thank you for bearing witness. Stories like this are not easy to hear, but they are necessary. Because behind every headline, behind every statistic, there is a real life, a real person, a real absence that never truly fades. If this story moved you, challenged you, or made you pause for even a moment, I ask that you don't let it end here. Please subscribe to the channel so these stories don't get buried in silence. Your support helps keep these voices heard. Leave a comment below, not just to share your thoughts, but to show that someone was listening, that someone cared. And make sure to hit the bell notification so you're alerted when we release future stories that matter, stories that deserve attention, respect, and truth. Every view matters. Every comment matters. Every subscription helps ensure that these lives are not forgotten. Thank you for watching. Thank you for standing with us. And thank you for choosing to remember.